Welcome back to the Who's Yanks. We have a new the Who's Yanks. We're talking in Canada soccer and U.S. soccer. Today we're going to be talking about the summer roster for the USMNT. The Yanks have released their summer roster for the upcoming following 4 games. We've got a slate of games coming up for the Yanks, and the games are as follows. Quick rundown, as you can see here. On June 1st, it's U.S. versus Morocco in Cincinnati, Ohio. And then on 5th, they take on Uruguay. I always mispronounce that. Uruguay, or Uruguay, if you speak Spanish. June 10th, USA versus Grenada in their first game of their Nations League group stage. And on the 14th, they go to El Salvador versus the USA. Once again, they get to go to Estadio Cuscatlán, a stadium that's been a tough place to get results, as we saw in World Cup qualifiers. But nonetheless, we get to see who made this roster, who made the cut, and I'm going to be doing something new too. So recently I went to a Rodizio, and if you go to Rodizio, basically, it's an all-you-can-eat based Brazilian meat house, basically. And they give you the card, right? You're green, red. So basically what I'm going to be doing is basically just holding it up. Basically what this means, instead of meaning that, oh yeah, you're more to eat. In this case, it's going to be obviously if I approve of the lineup or if I don't approve of it, something. So yeah, I'm going to be holding that card up and saying, basically when I'm doing a rundown of the list of names, if it's green, that means I approve. If it's red, that means maybe I could not necessarily disagree, but maybe I can see some improvements here, or maybe there can be something that can be improved. So that's just a little something fun I'm throwing in for the first time, since, I just got to keep this card as a keepsake. So why not put it to use, right? Just randomly put it to use. So we're going to be doing that. Before we get into the roster, I just want to plug a few more things. There will be, this is one of the many continued videos that I'll be doing recently of the USA, as I've recently did 3 other videos yesterday. So if you haven't checked those out, I recommend doing so, or if not, that's up to you. Doesn't matter. But I did do a couple of videos. I did 2 players on player commits that have recently committed to the Yanks. Gabriel Slonia, he's chosen the USA over Poland, as well as even Malik Tillman, who, by the way, spoiler or not spoiler, you guys probably already know, he made the lineup, or the roster kind of for this roster, if I can speak, roster lineup for this call up. He made it, and so he also chose the USA over Germany, and he right away, immediately, getting caught in the action, and it's pretty good. And the other video, of course, I made was just the whole bargaining breakdown of the collective details, if you're interested in checking all that. So more to come, including this video, the roster breakdown. We're going to be probably doing another video on the milestone equal pay breakdown video of just reading an article and just talking about what this means for U.S. soccer going forward for both men's and women's. And then finally doing a really, really old video that everybody at this point probably knows about, the TV deals that was historic and what that also means for the future of U.S. soccer. So including this video, 3 more USMNT videos guaranteed. A few others, of course, will be covering games, as well as maybe even next week. So the Canadian roster for their Nations Leagues and Friendlies rosters will come out. So we got a pretty hefty amount of videos coming out over the next few days, as well as the continued Euro Cup gameplay. So I hope you guys enjoying that. If not, that's all right too. But a couple videos, couple content coming out for you guys. So I think that's everything I have to plug. So with everything let's go ahead and just jump right into the summer roster and see who made the cut. And so, as I said, you can see your games here. I'll run them down again. June 1st in Cincinnati, USA versus Morocco. June 5th, USA versus Uruguay, or Uruguay. I don't know where that's being played, but it is June 5th. Right away, 2 good opponents, I should mention. USA, Morocco. I know there's been plenty of requests for me to cover the USA Morocco game, especially from many Moroccan fans when I was doing the Canadian World Cup group stage breakdown for them. I kind of probably said some stuff about Morocco that I didn't know about earlier, and going back, I did watch them play, and yeah, they're a really good team. Arguably one of the best in Africa. So yeah, this would be a fascinating game for the USA, and so as I can get a sneak peek and see how Canada what things could look like for them too. Of course, I'm not sure if Morocco's going to play their actual full starting lineup. They may, because they might take this as World Cup preparation, but it's going to be a good test either way. I get to see Morocco play for the first time in person, or not in person, but on TV rather than on a replay, so I get to actually check them out live. as well as a good test for Uruguay too. USA playing Uruguay has been a while since they played them. I believe last time they played was 1-1 in St. Louis, Missouri. That was a pretty good game, but two good tests, I should say. This is what we needed for the USA. As well as a good prep for the USA versus Grenada game, which the USA, I'm not saying, I hope I'm not like jinxing anything, but the USA should obviously steamroll Grenada. It's Nations League, but El Salvador, that would be another good test for them because you have to travel to El Salvador. And so all these games are not being hosted in the USA, which is pretty good. Obviously the last one being you got to go to someone else's house. And every time you go to someone's house, it's never been historically great, or it's always been historically challenged. So, but with this group of guys, we'll see how he fares, and we'll see what the rotation looks like over these next couple games or these next couple days. So, So without further ado, let's just dive right into this. Remember, I'll be using the card to see whether I approve of something and whether I don't approve. So we'll see how that works out, as well as stick to the end and also see how I have my FIFA. Basically, I have two squads, an A squad and a B squad that you can probably rotate around, as well as even make a couple of other changes into. So stick around and see how I play those, as well as this obviously on the title screen or the thumbnail. So you stick around and we'll be going through that as well. So after we go through list of names, we'll be going through my own FIFA roster of the USA, and we'll be choosing or explaining why I chose that over someone else. So stay tuned. But right now we have our goalkeepers. We have Ethan Horvath, Zach Steffen, and Matt Turner. If we use the card, obviously it's going to be green because, you have those are your three main keepers. I did mention Gabriel Salonia did commit to the USA yesterday or a few days prior, but he did not get caught up into this camp as it would probably be too big of a decision already. So, by default, these are your three main keepers. And in the FIFA roster, I'll break down. I probably use, with the amount of players that we have, Matt Turner specifically and Zach Steffen. And so we'll find that out later. Given how here, I think Matt Turner will get the starting nod for the USA. Reminder, he's been coming back from Arsenal, or not coming back from Arsenal, but he's coming back from injury, and he's getting ready to transfer into Arsenal. And we'll see how he does well over there. Remember, as I said in a prior video, we'll see if he actually gets playing time, because I don't want him riding the pine over there again, just like a lot of our keepers. Because there'll be just three main keepers, despite playing with some of the best clubs in the world. They're just going to be riding the pine, which is probably, it's not a good look. You want your keepers getting constant reps, as I said. And Gabriel Salonia was a perfect example of that. Even though he's with the Chicago Fire, he's still getting day in and day out practice and game time experience and constant reps, which is what you want. And you want your keepers and players to be in form. And so, hopefully Matt Turner will get playing time, quality playing time with Arsenal. We'll see how they use him, or will he actually just ride the pine? That's something we'll have to figure out later on. But nonetheless, nothing really here. Pretty much your same exact keepers we saw during World Cup qualifying. And Ethan Horvath, of course, being the hero for the US-Mexico game. He gets caught up in the action. I won't be surprised. He'll probably get one rep maybe against Grenada, given how, that would probably be the game where he gets a rep. I'm pretty sure all these keepers should at least get one rep, one game at least. I'm predicting Ethan Horvath will probably get one with Grenada. Zach Steffen will probably get one with, that's a good question. Could be Uruguay, could be El Salvador, But Matt Turner will probably get two games, one with Uruguay, or with one with Morocco. We got to see how Greg Berhalter plays both of these and how he uses both players in the upcoming 4 games that they have. So that's all up in the air, but theoretically, each one of these keepers could get practice, but at the same time, it could also be probably despised against because it's too close to a World Cup, and by this time, you want to start getting your first team broken into, right? You want to start establishing your players and start saying, hey, we shouldn't be changing and experimenting with stuff around, right? As you technically had World Cup qualifying to do that, and he did do that during World Cup qualifying, so I don't know if he's actually going to use this game to experiment or if he's just going to use this game to start just breaking in the first team players like Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie. Of course, Gio Reyna's injured, and that's going to, once he gets healthy again, that's going to throw another wrench in the stuff to see how he fits in. But At this point, I think Greg Berhalter maybe will start trying to go for his first team player, as well as the players that will be playing together consistently during the World Cup the World Cup itself. And so we just got to keep an eye out for that and see how Greg Berhalter uses those. But nonetheless, that's your keepers. Your defenders, we have George Bello, Reggie Cannon, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Aaron Long, Eric Palmer-Brown, Anthony Robinson, Joe Scally, DeAndre Yedlin, and Walker Zimmerman. This one, if there is a yellow, I would flip to it, but I'll give it a green. I'll give it a green. But if there is a yellow, I would obviously, the true statement be a yellow, because we all know, I mean, it's also out of the U.S.'s control. There's been a lot of injuries on the defenses back recently, so including Miles Robinson for Atlanta United and a few other center backs that have been injured in their playing time. So really unfortunate there for the USA, but it's out of their control. So USA is just really pulling on players to work with here, including a lot of young faces: Cameron Carter-Vickers, Eric Palmer-Brown, Joe Scally, and a few other young players too, as well as even a few familiar faces too. So it would be interesting to see how Greg Berhalter uses this, but in my lineup, I specifically use for both A and B. I do go with a little bit of experience, but Joe Scally, as we said, can make his debut. He probably will make his debut definitely in Granada, as, I mean, I could see him definitely getting there. I feel like the Granada game, despite being a Nations League game, will probably be one of another of those get youngsters playing time and experience game, you know, given how USA is probably expected to pummel Granada, and it's at home, so that should be a fun game to watch. But we do see the return of Aaron Long. I mean, not the return of Aaron Long. He's been around ever since World Cup qualifying, but you remember he was one of the injured players with Jordan Morris for the Seattle Sounders. So we do see them come back, and it is great to see them come back. But we do see DeAndre Yedlin, Walker Zimmerman, Aaron Long, Anthony Robinson, and George Bello. A lot of familiar faces, basically. So overall, give this a yellow. I'm pretty sure this is not the absolute best defense we can come up with. But nonetheless, you know, like Brooks, I think John Brooks, I mean, he's probably getting up there in age, which is probably why he didn't get caught in, or maybe he's injured. But nonetheless, it's like a light yellow to light green. I mean, it's like it could be better, but at the same time, you can't really do anything about it because there's a lot of players that are injured, and it's just unfortunate. And as I said many times on this channel, it's the next player up mentality, as even the USA themselves have said. Next player up mentality, despite injuries, despite setbacks. Now it's the time to prove that this player pipeline is benefiting the USA, and the USA has some talent in depth. So now it's the time to prove that, and we'll see how they play. But nonetheless, those are your defenders, and as we'll go to after I break down the names, we'll break down and see who I put in my full FIFA squads for A and B. Then we move to our midfielders. We have Kellen Acosta, Tyler Adams, Luca De La Torre, Weston McKennie, Georgi Mihailovic. By the way, he's welcome back, as I've heard he's been tearing it up a storm over there at Montreal Impact on CF Montreal. Giannis Musa is also in there too. Christian Rolland, Malik Tillman, by the way, who I said just committed to the USA from Germany. As I said earlier in the video, he's also been caught up, and he might also get his debut against Granada, depending on how things go. So, two young players here that might get debut against Granada, but Malik Tillman, obviously all eyes are going to be on him, as the 19-year-old has just committed, and he said he wants to pledge a future for the USA, and we'll see how well he does. But nonetheless, Georgi Mihailovic, he's been tearing it up a storm over there in Montreal, and we'll see if he also gets some playing time too. He might also get some playing time against Granada. So a lot of the people that have been called up that really don't see the field a lot may as well see the field against Granada, and that'll be a great game probably to watch, to see all your youngsters get talent and come together and just break themselves into this USMNT team. But overall, looking at the midfield, I mean, given how our current options, I know Gio Reyna's out, which that's the only thing I see that's a problem. I'll give this a green. But, I mean, as I said, Gio Reyna being out sucks, as well as probably other couple of key midfielder players that have not been called in because of injuries. It's overall pretty good. You can work with this. I mean, you've got Weston McKennie coming back. You've got Christian Rolland, which is a Greg Berhalter favorite. You've got Luca De La Torre, by the way, who's been calling and demanding more playing time, and he's shown it on the field that he can really inject something good into this team. You've got Kellen Acosta, by the way, another Greg Bolton favorite. You've got Tyler Adams, by the way. You've got Yonis Musa, which you can't forget him. He is arguably one of the anchors of this midfield in the USA's team in general. So, and you got Malik Tillman, who can also bust in, as well as Georgie Mahler, who can also make his return. So, with these options, I approve. And with the coming games coming up, I say they can definitely make some experience and really learn a lot from the next 4 games, as well as even get quality playing time for those who don't see the field a lot coming up. So, overall, pretty good breakdown. So, midfield, I approve of. And then we go to our finals, our forwards. We have Brendan Aronson, Paul Arriola, Jesus Ferreira, Jordan Morris, Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah, and Haji Wright, which is a new one for me. He could also make a debut against Granada. On Haji Wright, I've got to do some research on him because I haven't heard of him. That's the first new name for me. So, he nonetheless might see the field against Granada, as well as some of these new players that have yet to debut for the United States. May as well get ready for against the Granada game. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. And then we have you got your usuals: Tim Weah, Captain America, Christian Pulisic, by the way, who has to start. Jordan Morris, he's coming back from Seattle Sounders injury, which he might slide in. I don't know if he'll start, but he might come off the bench, I can see, in the 65th minute or so. Jesus Ferreira, by the way, who's been on a storm for FC Dallas. He's been scoring lots of goals, and actually in him, I do include him in the starting lineup because he's been in form so much, and hopefully he can keep that up. I know with the USA's previous games in World Qualifying, he's had open chances, and he's really skied them over the net, or has really failed to put them in the back of the net. But I'm giving him a chance in my lineup because I say if he's been on form with FC Dallas, I know the USA is a different breed because you got different players, but maybe he can just stick the ball in the back of the net and find himself and compose himself and be able to put the ball in the back of the net. Then you got Paul Arriola and Brendan Aronson. Brendan Aronson, I know he might get the starting nod here for the USA, but given our recent World Qualifying games, he hasn't really been scoring a lot. And, he had a little lull, so maybe he'll break out of it in this little cycle that they have coming up, but that's something we just got to keep an eye out for. And he was one of the players I switched around for Jesus Ferreira, and I actually moved Brendan Aronson because he hasn't been in form recently. I moved him to the second team, or a second squad that you can swap out for the players because, he hasn't been scoring a lot for the USA lately, but Jesus Ferreira either, but I'll give Jesus Ferreira a chance. Maybe Brendan Aronson can also come off the bench for him too, and, either way, they can come off the bench for each other and hopefully score. We'll see how Greg Bolton uses his players in his own lineup, but in my own lineup, for sure, I do have, Captain America, Jesus Ferreira, and Tim Weah. Tim Weah you got to have because he's so fast. He's got a lot of skill on that wing, and he can cross the ball and really provide some good assist. He's your assist man that you got to have in here. So, and then the B team, we'll go over that later. But in your A team, that's what I have. So overall, give me the strikers. It's green. It's green for me. So overall, it's a whole lot of roster breakdown. I do approve of it. It's pretty good. Pretty good options with what you can work with and what you have to work with. And so I said that's really, really good. And yeah, hopefully we'll see how they play. And a final reminder for the TV schedule if you're interested in that. You can see the post here. I have it here. USA versus Morocco. It doesn't really say where it's at. Or yes, it's Cincinnati. I'll go over the locations and games. Then you have USA and Uruguay, which is going to be in Kansas City, Missouri. And you can also see where it's provided to on the U.S. if you're watching in the U.S. from on your network channels. And then USA versus Granada, we have in Austin, Texas. The USA is going back to Austin. And then in your CONCACAF Nations League, of course, the USA will travel to El Salvador. So good transition there, really getting used to the heat for the USA. You got to get used to the heat before you go to a very, very humid and balmy El Salvador. So I like this. You start there, then you go to Kansas City, then you go to Austin, and then you go over down to El Salvador. So pretty good locations there. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Here are my roster breakdowns for what I've chosen. And here you can actually see, I'll start with the defense. I have Anthony Robinson playing on the left back position, with Walker Zimmerman playing in the center back position for Nashville. He's been pretty good lately. You've got Matt Turner as a starting keeper. I mean, yeah, you have to because he's been in form or playing consistently with the New England Revolution. And then you've got Aaron Long playing on the center back position, and then you got Reggie Cannon playing on the right back position. So those are your 4 defenders that I have. If you disagree with me, feel free to let me know in the comments and tell me who you would rather see for this first team in your lineup. So this is what I have. So yeah, you can feel free to just critique it. This is just what I'm doing for fun and who I would play. But we all know Greg Welch is going to use his own players, obviously, because he's the head coach. And in the center mid, we have Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and Giannis Musa. For me, you got to have those 3. Those are your strongest 3 players. And then finally, up top, you have Captain America himself, Jesus Ferreira, and Tim Weah, as I said earlier on. Those are your 3. Tim Weah can be as an assist man. Captain America, of course, will put the ball in the back of the net. And Jesus Ferreira can, of course, hopefully find his ways and put the ball in the back of the net for him and really just stake his own claim. Also note there's no Ricardo Pepi called up into this lineup. He's seeing a break, but he'll be back soon. But Jesus Ferreira is definitely trying to break himself in. And then we go to our second team. I'm trying not to spend too long on this to make the video not that long, but our second team, who I would play, George Bello over there in the left back position. Cameron Carter-Vickers, once again, he's a youngster. He doesn't really see the field a lot. Zach Steffen, he's once again for Man City, but he's on the bench and he comes off and plays games occasionally. The center back, Palmer Brown, another youngster once again. And then in your right back position, you have DeAndre Yedlin. So there's your defense. You got definitely one key quality experienced player, DeAndre Yedlin. Then you've got George Bello, who's trying to still break his way into the lineup. And you got 2 youngsters, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Amber Palmer Brown. A lot of people have been calling for Cameron Carter-Vickers and Amber Palmer Brown in many discussion groups, and they really want to see him play. And yeah, I'm for that too. Let's see what they've got. And then in your midfield, you have Luca De La Torre, who can arguably come off the bench too for the main side or start for the main side. He's, as I said, he's got energy guy. He provides a lot of skills. We saw in Minnesota against Honduras in that cold freezer game. He injected a lot into this team. So if you could play him. You've got Christian Rodon, which is, by the way, a Greg Bolter fan favorite, and he's going to arguably see the field no matter what, like it or not. He's going to play. As well as Cullen Acosta, another Greg Bolter fan favorite. He's going to see the field no matter what, like it or not. And then up top, Jordan Morris, you have him. He's arguably, he's coming back from injury, but he's by far a Greg Bolter favorite. I can see that, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a starting nod, if he can go in 90 minutes. Seattle Saunders, I think he's been playing a decent amount, at least 70, trying to work his way back in slowly, but I would not play him 90 minutes because of his ACL injury. He's coming back from that, so go easy on him. Maybe just give him 60, 65 if you're feeling it. But Brendan Aronson up top, hopefully he can find his ways back. I know he hasn't been scoring a lot lately, but he can arguably also come off the bench for any of the starting first team players that I had. And then Pariola, Greg Bolter fan favorite. So a lot of the teams, this second squad is based off of, for the majority, Greg Bolter fan favorites. And that's basically my A squads, B squads, my FIFA squads, and I hope you guys like that, as well as the card thing that I had here for the first time. So if you like that, I'll probably bring it back. I'll probably use it going forward because it's funny or it's kind of interesting too. I wish there was a yellow side to it. That way I can say maybe, but hey, I like this as also. But hope you guys enjoyed that roster breakdown, and we'll look forward to the coming games that I'll be making content on going forward. And so yeah, if you guys like this video, make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Also remember to hit the bell notification. Now we know when any video is uploaded or posted, as well as even the upcoming US future videos that I have to produce and make over the next coming days. Let alone they might be produced today and one tomorrow. But just that's why you turn on the bell notification now when the video is posted. And tell your friends. We've got 4 games for the USA coming up, 2 friendlies and 2 Nations Leagues.